Hi again, it's Jackie. One of the things that's going to be happening when you come and we do sessions together, or maybe you come to a class and learn some body talk techniques and a body talk course with me, is that there's going to be this tapping process. We do this specific tapping process for lots of different techniques within the body talk system, but also when you go for one-on-one sessions, you'll find that there is a tapping process that we do. And I want to take you through the information about that because, as I've stated before, the more you know and understand about what's happening during the process, why we do things, why it comes up, and you understand more about what's going on for you, that's going to translate to a much more positive experience for you, a much greater healing process for you. And the other one, which is probably one of the most important ones, is it actually helps repair this relationship with yourself. And that is so, so important. Okay. Let's talk about the tapping process that we do specifically in a body talk session. When you come and see me, we're going to be asking your innate wisdom, what is the priority that we need to address today? What is the most important thing that is for this person, where that is causing the most amount of conflict or the most amount of chaos, that is unbalanced for whatever reason, that we need to initiate a healing process for, right? When we have discovered all that information and we get to what we call the end of a formula, because it sort of constructs itself very much like a mathematical formula, we then need to do this very specific tapping process, which initiates the healing response in the body. Now, there will be times where it is a little bit different, and I'll take you through that information at the end of it, okay? It's often been thought of for a long, long time that when we talk about the word brain, a lot of people often think about their head brain. And you're not wrong. Obviously, we do have a head brain, but we have more than one brain in the body. We actually have at least three. And the three that we're going to be talking about are very important when it comes to this tapping process and stimulating a healing response in the body. There is the head brain, there is also the heart brain, and there is the gut brain. And what we do need to acknowledge is that each one of these three brains has its own distinct way of working and way of expressing itself. It has a ton of amazingly good qualities. And so when we're doing this tapping process, not only are we stimulating those qualities that each brain has within them, but then all three brains are actually designed to work together as a team. And each time that you have a body talk session and each time that you tap in a formula, you're encouraging those three brains to sort of come together more like a community or a village would and have a really great working relationship, okay? So we have the head brain, we have the heart brain, and we have the gut brain. When it comes time to tapping out a formula or a specific technique, we are going to be taking nice big deep breaths together. If you are in clinic with me and having a session in front of me, I will be coaching you on taking nice big deep breaths, making sure that we're really moving your diaphragms. I will be doing the tapping process over the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain majority of the time. The only time that I would get you involved is if it was actually a priority and your innate wisdom was prioritizing that you needed to contribute to the tapping process as well. But more often than not, it's actually me that will do the tapping process for you. Now, if we're working at distance from one another and you live somewhere beautiful around the world and we don't have access to each other in person, then you're going to be receiving your body talk sessions at distance. If we're doing it in my private online meeting room, in lifetime, you and I, then I'll be coaching you through the tapping process, and I will use myself as a surrogate to tap the formula in on myself as well for you and with you, okay? If you are receiving your session as a MP3 or an MP4 recording, okay? Then I will coach you through that verbally during the recorded process. So I'll let you know when you need to start the tapping process, and I'll also remind you how you do that. What happens is when I'm facilitating that session for you in my lifetime, I actually use myself as a surrogate and I tap in the formula on myself. When you get the recording and you're listening to the recording of your session, you will then go ahead and tap in the session yourself, on yourself, okay? So it's really super easy, and there's always a really great way to be able to implement the tapping. Now, let's get to know these three brains for a couple of minutes. The head brain acts like this supercomputer. It is responsible for downloading and processing something like 30 million bits of information per second from the body and from the environment. So it's a supercomputer, but it's more designed to run this vessel, this body, not necessarily well equipped or designed to run or be responsible for the processes that the heart brain does and that the gut brain does. So that's why it's also really important for these three brains to work together in a really cohesive manner. The head brain, when we do tapping across the top of the head brain, we're basically bringing the brain's attention to all the information that's just come up in that part of the session for you. And it's like sort of stopping the brain and the central nervous system and sort of saying to it, look, I know you've got a lot to do, but this is a massive priority. I just need you to stop, look, breathe, understand it, and then help formulate a strategy and a plan for how this is going to repair. So the brain is really, really good at being able to do that, okay? Sort out strategies, put plans in place. When we tap over the heart brain, so as we do the tapping process and you're taking nice big deep breaths in and out, you're going to be alternating both your hands over all three brains. When you tap over the heart brain also acts like this massive mainframe computer. It's the one where it actually stores all the information that is in relation to this particular part of the session. So the heart brain is also sensational for changing what was and replacing it for what needs to be. So creating new patterns of information and new ways for the body-mind complex to exist and run. Now let's have a chat about the gut brain, or otherwise known as the etheric brain. The etheric brain is actually associated with your entire gastrointestinal tract, from top all the way down to the bottom. But we largely think of the gut brain as being more associated with the area of the small intestine. And one of the most major components of the small intestine, which I love, 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 is this process of discernment. When it comes to making decisions in life, if you can do it from your gut brain, you're really on a great path, because the gut brain is fantastic for helping you sort stuff out, deciding what's good for you, what's not so great for you, what's important for you right now, what's not so important and can be done later, and what your path is and what your direction is. From a tapping perspective, when we do tapping over the gut brain is going to help your entire body-mind complex decide what is relevant out of all this information that needs to be implemented now, what gets done a little bit later, why it gets done a little bit later. So it really helps make that decision-making process for what the healing strategy is going to be very, very easy. So when it comes to tapping in your formula, either I'm going to be doing it for you, or depending on how you're getting your session, you will be doing it for yourself. We'll be tapping over the area of the small intestine really lightly. If you're going to be doing it yourself, it's going to be about an inch above your belly button. That's the general area, okay? When it comes time to tapping over the head brain, you're going to remember that there's like two halves. You have the left side, and it's probably going to look the opposite to you on the camera, but you have the left side of the hemisphere of the brain. You have the right hemisphere of the brain. And you imagine that there is this suture line that runs down the middle. When you're tapping, no matter whether you're tapping out with me in a body talk session, whether you are listening to a recording of a body talk session that I've sent through to you, or whether you are tapping out a technique of body talk that you have learned, it's going to be the same in every case. You want to make sure that your hand is nice and wide and open like this. The tapping is always nice and soft. It's just a very soft, gentle process, not hard at all. And when you're tapping, you want to make sure that you're connecting with both the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. So all of that should give you a fair amount of clarity on the tapping process that you're going to experience whilst you're having a body talk session. Also, if you ever decide to pop along and learn any body talk courses as well, then you're going to learn how to do tapping for specific techniques, which is a lot of fun to learn, as always. Hopefully throughout this video, you've learned a little about the different personality of those three brains and how our desire is really to get them to work together as a team so that each brain can really express itself in its true capacity. If that happens, and when it happens, you start to have some really amazing healing processes that can happen in the body, not just from a physical functioning perspective, but also your happiness levels, your level of clarity and understanding about what's going on for you and around the rest of the world. And the biggest one of all is your relationship with yourself. The amount of improvement and scope for repair that can go through is quite often amazing, no matter what your history or what your story is like. So I'm really looking forward to working with you in one way or another, and encourage you to get in touch and encourage you to reach out so that we can do that ASAP. I'll talk to you really soon. Bye.